Hey guys, welcome to Flowcast, a podcast by Flowout, where we chat with successful entrepreneurs, freelancers, and other amazing professionals that are crushing it in their game. I'm Gal, and I'll be your host on this audio journey. In this week's episode, I'm here with Marie Martens, an indie hacker and co-founder of Typeforms. So, without further ado, sit back, relax, and enjoy the conversation. Marie, welcome to our podcast. I'm really excited to have you here.
Hi, Gal. Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be on the podcast as well.
So, how are you? How are things?
I'm good. I'm good. Pretty busy as usual. But things are going well with me and with Tally. So no complaints here.
Okay, yeah, that's really awesome to hear. So I would just suggest we start like talking a bit about you and your background. So I'm just gonna ask, who are you and how would your family and friends describe you?
Yeah. So I'm Marie. I'm 34 years old. I'm based in Ghent, Belgium. I'm born and raised here, and I live and work together with my partner and co-founder Philip. Together we have a 2-year-old daughter. And how would they or my family describe me? I guess I'm kind of an open-minded person. I'm pretty curious as well. I think we probably both are. Me and Philip were kind of dreamers, which also kind of led us to go on this indie hacker journey and run our own business. So we like to dream about how life could be and how we can lead it independently. So I guess that kind of describes who I am.
Oh, nice. Yeah, great. And I guess this all like open-mindedness, curiosity, and so on. I'm sure it helps with growth and what you're actually doing at Tally.
Yeah, I think so. It's like every day brings something new, especially when you're trying to build your own company. So it definitely helps to be curious and to be interested in change, because that's kind of what happens all the time to us. Yeah.
Yeah, and what about your background a bit before Tally? What led you to becoming a now startup founder?
Yeah, so I have a background in mainly B2B marketing. I study marketing communications at university, and then I worked like in a bigger and smaller companies in Belgium. I think for around 10 years. The last job I had was marketing manager at an agency, a digital product studio that built platforms and mobile applications for bigger clients in Belgium and finance and in retail, several industries. So I guess I learned quite a lot about how product development works, how you can ship and tweak things there. So that's kind of my professional background. And Philip, my co-founder, has founded other startups and worked at other startups before. The last one was Delta, a crypto portfolio tracker, so something completely different. And that got acquired by eToro. And basically after that happened, we were both thinking of maybe starting something together and also travel while doing that. We had like this digital nomad lifestyle dream. And so that kind of led us to quit our jobs and chase our dreams and start our own business.
Wow, amazing. And so let's talk about Tally a little bit. Can you just
Yeah.
tell me what is Teleforms all about and how is it different from other form builders?
Yeah. So when we founded Tally, we couldn't really find like a form builder that we loved to use and that was also affordable for like indie hackers, without any budget. There's of course Google Forms, but the forms, don't really look great. They didn't really have the design that we wanted, and didn't also really offer the user experience that we were looking for. And then you have builders like Typeform, who are great but pretty expensive, especially when you're just starting out. At the same time, we were also using Notion, and we love the way how Notion has this modern, text editor interface, how they have built their community as well. So we thought if we can wrap all of that together in one product, what would it be? And that's kind of how Tally was born. So Tally is a no-code form building tool. It kind of works like a text editor. You can just type and with shortcuts insert blocks. And it's free to use. So what makes us different than other form builders is that we offer unlimited forms and submissions for free, and most of our features as well.
Oh, that's pretty great. And did you do like any user or market research before starting on Tally, or is it all coming like from your love of simplicity, Notion, and all these things?
Yeah, a bit of both. The form building business is huge, right? So we knew like it's a very competitive landscape. So we knew the demand is also there. Like every business needs a form builder at one stage. But we did feel like there was room for like a player that did it a bit differently and with a different business model and a more generous free tier. So of course we scanned the market, looked what was out there, what the pricing models were, but we didn't do like super extended user research. We kind of focused on getting our MVP, like a very simple version of Tally, out there as soon as possible and get feedback and then iterate on that. So we kind of just dove in and talk to as many users as possible and potential customers, and then every time try to improve our product. So that's kind of how it happened.
Okay, yeah, that's nice. And I'm also wondering, like you co-founded Tally together with Philip, who's your
Right.
partner in business and also in life. Did you
Yeah.
like face any challenges at the beginning of your startup journey, and how did you overcome them?
Yeah, I mean it's definitely something new, right? To work with your boyfriend or husband. For us, I guess in the beginning, for me it was a bit more difficult to like take feedback from Philip. Like I was used to getting feedback from colleagues, but when it's from your partner, like it's always a bit more tricky, I guess. So I kind of had to get used to separating work and private life, which is kind of impossible because everything kind of blends in. So it definitely took some time to adjust. I think what helps us is that we have different roles and responsibilities. Philip is the technical brain behind the product. He develops and he designs, he builds it. I don't know anything about development, so I just run the marketing side, administration, like PR, everything else that comes with running the business. And after a while, we just found our own like responsibilities, and we completely trust each other in that. And the bigger decisions, of course, we take together. So that definitely helps for us. We also have a small daughter, and she kind of forces us to not work or not think about work once in a while. So that kind of helps as well. But I would say like the separation of roles and responsibilities definitely made it work for us as a couple.
Okay, and what about, do you think it helped that you two had like a connection before? You basically, I guess, understand each other, you know what you want. Is that also business wise?
I think so. It makes it also easier, right? Like I can imagine if you, like when we started Tally, we were also in lockdown because of COVID. So you're just home, and what else do you do than work? And I guess for us, if only one of us would be part of the startup, it would be really difficult for the other person to understand what's going on and to connect with it. You would probably get tired of hearing about the product and the startup. And when you're both in it, it's very different, right? You both have the same problems or concerns, and you can also talk about them whenever you want because you understand what's going on. So I think that definitely helped us as well to like both be be in the same business and have to go, go for it together. Yeah.
Okay. And so, yeah, you're basically living the same lifestyle then.
Yeah, I would say exactly the same. Yeah.
And Tally is completely bootstrapped, right?
Right.
So did you like ever think about looking for any kind of investments, or was it clear to you from day one that you're going to completely self-fund it?
Yeah. So I guess our idea was always to self-fund it and to bootstrap it if possible. We like the idea of having the complete freedom and to build and grow something organically. Of course, I don't think that's possible for every product, but for us, like Tally seemed to be the type of product that it might work to bootstrap it. We did get a lot of outreach from investors, especially after we launched on Product Hunt, which was like our first public launch. And then we kind of started doubting because, especially in the startup world, it's like your success is measured by how much money you raise or how big your team is. And both of those things were not really goals for us or not really things that were that important. So it made us doubt. We were like, maybe are we not ambitious enough, or we're saying no to so much money. But I guess for us, in the end, like just living our lives and building our company in the way that we want it, with like 100% ownership and freedom to choose what we want to do, when we want to do it, take decisions in the best interest of our users, making the product free as well and not immediately going for like a high revenue. I think those things were most important to us. Also combined with us already having had, some work experience, and we've also had some savings from the past 10 years. So that of course also helped, because you need to be able to pay the bills in the beginning when there's no money coming in. So I guess all of that combined kind of made us decide like that we were staying bootstrapped. And since then we haven't really doubted it anymore. We're pretty convinced of keeping it this way. Yeah.
Wow, that's super interesting, especially about the outreach from other like investors. And I guess it happens organically once you are growing so fast.
Yeah, I think so. It was also new to us, and you start doubting, of course, because there's a lot of interest, and you wonder if you're missing out on something, especially when the big ones reach out, and of course they also have relevant networks and knowledge, and it can definitely help you. But we just decided that that's not the road for us, and yeah, kind of decided not to look back anymore and just do our own thing.
Oh, yeah. And also, would you have like some kind of advice for people trying to bootstrap, thinking about their own startups? Do you think, is there anything specific you should prioritize as a founder?
I think if you can, like, start as a side project, like don't immediately give up your full-time income, because in the end, if you don't have the savings, you do need to be able to last for a while before you might making money, or your startup might fail. You need to start all over again. So I feel like I definitely think the financial runway is quite important. Or if you can start it as a side project and only go full in when you see that it's making some money, that seems to be like the safest option to me. Also for us, we just try to ship something as soon as possible and not like to overthink it too much, and just see what people want to pay for, and then take it from there and improve the product over and over again. So I would definitely advise that when you're bootstrapping, because that keeping it as simple and cheap as possible, and just getting something out there and talk to as many people, and get the word out there about your product. That definitely helped us. And I would say another thing is, when you're bootstrapped, and especially you're alone, or you're only a team of two, like time is your most precious resource, of course. So you kind of have to say no to almost everyone, like everyone that reaches out to you, wants to hop on a call, wants to talk about something, get your input, or sell you something. We just were very, very strict on that because you really need all the time you have to build and to grow your product. So we're almost never in meetings, except for, interviews like we're having now. We try, not to have calls, to work asynchronous, and just to have as much productive working time as possible. And then you can get quite a lot of done in a day if you're just strict on your time management. So that's definitely something I would advise other bootstrapped founders.
Well, yeah, that's a great advice, actually. I guess I can agree completely. And also, I'm like wondering about the building in public. You've been doing that since the very beginning. Do you
Yeah.
think it's important to share as much as possible about your startup, your project as a founder or the one building it?
I don't think you have to do it. I think there's like this balance, or this constant searching for the balance between sharing too much, or sharing just right enough. For us, it was just a way to get our story out there, and also to do marketing a bit, because we didn't really have anything else to share. We didn't have an audience yet. So we just shared our journey as a startup as well. And how we are, what's happening behind the scenes, and how we are building our product. And of course, because our audience are also in the beginning, like other indie hackers, bootstrapped founders, that kind of resonated. And it was also fun to do, because for me, it's like my number one like way of learning things is by looking at how other founders are building in public, and what they share. So it's something we just enjoy doing, and I can definitely recommend. I wouldn't call myself an expert in building in public. We're not that consistent. Like, we don't share all the time. We just try to share like the bigger milestones, and then I always combine it with a blog post or a bit more content, and especially context about like what did we learn and how did we get here, and not just like big statements of we reach 40K MRR now, but like what's actually interesting is how we did it, and what happened and what went wrong, especially because that's how other people can learn. So that's kind of how I see it. But it did help us to get our first users, to get feedback, and just to connect with as many potential users for Tally.
So I guess giving people something to like look up to or looking forward to, like reading and learning from, right?
Yeah, especially, or also just there's always someone out there that has like the same problem, or that has already solved your problem, and that is like one step ahead or behind you. So that's like, for me, the best way to learn and to move forward. And by sharing that, we kind of also give back some of our learnings to the community, which I mean, it's just a great way to learn, and also to reflect on what happened. Like, if you reach a milestone, you're thinking about what did we actually do. You kind of can analyze and take a moment to reflect, and then write it all down, and then share it with everyone.
And Tally is now actually a team of 4 already,
Yeah.
which, by the way, congrats.
Thank you.
But it was you and Philip for a long time. When
Yeah.
did you know you need to like onboard someone new, and how did that go actually?
I think that's one of the things, like, we waited pretty long. We waited 2 years before someone joined. We probably waited a bit too long, but that also kind of comes with bootstrapping, because you need to have enough revenue to be able to afford, to hire someone. And our first hire was Richard, who actually helps us part-time with customer support. And for us, like, yeah, customer support is like the most important thing. Also in our just product and growth strategy or mentality, we want to make sure that everyone gets supported and helped as soon as possible. And we just couldn't do it by ourselves anymore. Like, the user base was growing, the product was growing a lot faster than our team, and we were just basically doing support, both of us, full time. Philip didn't really have time to develop new features anymore. Needed to look into scaling the infrastructure. So we kind of felt like it was at the end of last year that we were stuck and we just couldn't do anything new, try out any new experiments. So that was definitely the time to hire someone. And then Richard was actually already active in our Slack channel, where our users can come in to ask questions about Tally. And so it happened very organically. He was kind of already helping out other people, so it was like the perfect first team member for us. And so yeah, he's been doing that for a couple of months now, and that kind of made the whole customer support part a bit less heavy for us. Of course, we're still involved, but we have a bit more time to focus on building and growing the product. But so that went pretty well, although I think we waited a bit too long. And then only 1 month ago, we decided to hire another engineer to help out Philip with shipping new features. I think the first person was kind of, so we looked for someone through Upwork, which is always, I feel like, kind of a hit or miss kind of situation. It was the first time that we used the platform as well. And the first person we worked with kind of ghosted on us. We didn't really have a connection. Yeah, he just kind of disappeared. So that only took 1 week. And then we just worked with like the second person that we talked to, and decided to give it another try. Ahmed, who's based in Egypt, and he's been a great fit and has been shipping features at a super speed since then. So yeah, that's our team for now. And I think with the 4 of us, we're now good for a while. We can. Yeah, we're. I think that the team is now big enough to take Tally to the next level, and then we'll see again, maybe by the end of the year, if we need to grow the team even more.
Okay, nice. And talking about shipping features fast and all this community, do you think like it's important listening to your users and shipping the features they want, they request? I'm sure you have a lot of user requests on that front.
Yeah, we have a lot of requests, which is great because we don't really need to ask for feedback. It just comes to us, and we keep track of all the requests. Like with we don't have a public upvoting system yet, but we just keep track of all of them in our internal documents. And so we perfectly know which feature has been requested the most, what we should build next. Of course, it's always a bit of finding a balance between what has been asked, what makes sense for Tally, how long will it take to build it. So we kind of consider all those things and then decide what to build on next. But we have a public roadmap and everyone can share their feature requests. So the roadmap is kind of shaped, by the community. And that's how we've done it since the start, and that definitely also helped us growing, our audience and our user base, because our users definitely have something to say, and when you deliver on those expectations, they also tend to, promote your product and turn into super fans. So in this way, that that really works for Tally to just be very open, transparent, and listen and try to talk to as many people as possible. That kind of has been like our recipe from the start, and that's definitely still working for us.
Yeah, I really love the whole openness and like including community, listening to users and their feedback. But I would like to chat a little bit more about growth for Tally.
Yeah.
Can you like share some of your top acquisition channels? And are you doing anything you think is like unique approach about it?
Yeah, I don't think it's unique what we're doing. I think a lot of companies are doing the same, but basically we kind of rely on the product itself to grow. So it's like a product-led growth strategy, which means that our product itself is our biggest acquisition channel. And how it works is, yeah, forms are quite viral by themselves. It's something that you make to share with respondents. And because we have a lot of free users, they share their Tally forms with the Tally branding on it, which turns into, you know, more visibility for our brands, and the people that fill out the form also, you know, are interested in which tool has been used, and then they basically try out the product themselves, and eventually you know, a percentage of them also turns into Tally users. So yeah, having a free tier is basically our biggest marketing channel for now, and that's how we grow. We have been building in public, like we talked before, since the start, which also made, for example, like Twitter a pretty important acquisition channel for us. Also because that's where our most vocal users are at, and where they are also promoting Tally. And next to that, there's a part of like organic search as well. People, you know, looking for cheaper alternatives to Typeform, for example, and that's how they also find us. But that's still a smaller part. I would say just the product itself is our biggest acquisition channel for now. Yeah.
And your growth is all organic, or are you doing like anything on the paid front?
It's organic for now. We've done some tests with like some newsletter sponsorships, but we haven't really have had good experiences with that. But we haven't really run like paid ad campaigns yet, because we feel like the product-led growth really works for us. We do think about investing more in influencer marketing in the future, just to like yeah, grow like the word of mouth about Tally. But that's something that we still need to try out. So it is yeah, organic until now.
That's even more impressive than And how do you plan all the growth tasks and like decide on the roadmap for Tally? Like we already talked about being super focused on the working part, but do you have like specific day in the week for that? And like how do you do it?
Not really. There's always a lot of unexpected things happening, so we always feel like we don't have enough time to work. Usually, I try to do like the recurring tasks or like admin or support in the morning, and then try to focus a bit more on creating content or anything else in the afternoon. I don't really have like a specific day of you know, planning wise. I think for the roadmap, we try to plan a couple of features ahead, but also not much more than that, because we've done that in the start and we could never really deliver on it, because yeah, the business is growing pretty fast and you can never really know what will happen in like 3 months from now. So we try to just plan like 1 month ahead or something, 1 or 2 months ahead. And that kind of helps us, especially now there's a team, you know, it requires a bit more planning. But that's kind of how it works. And I would say that the product roadmap kind of leads everything else, and then growth tasks just kind of happen around that. But the product roadmap would be the most important planning tool for us.
And one of the parts of your growth is also a very connected community, obviously. You said you have like a Slack channel, you're always talking to users, you are active on social media. Do you think there are some like key advantages to having a very connected community around your product.
Yeah, definitely. I think there's also a difference between like having an audience or having an actual community. I think we're somewhere in between that still. You know, we have a growing user base and we have some very engaged users and super fans, really. But I guess our dream, or like the next thing for Tally as well, is to turn that user base actually in a community where people start helping out each other, sharing tips, you know, organize events where people can maybe also sell Tally templates and make a living out of it, where we can have ambassadors or experts, like all of those things. We're not really there yet. I think our Slack channel is like the first step towards creating kind of this community feeling, and it's definitely a growing group of people, but it's mostly, you know, a support channel for now. We do really of course, yeah, value the or think that the community building aspect of our business will be crucial, especially because it just shows that people can trust us, right? That potential customers see that other people use our product. It helps for getting feedback and getting support while we grow. So it's definitely one of our priorities for this year. Will be like, how can we go from like product-led growth to community-led growth, and then how can we feed that community and actually make it happen? So there's still quite some work to do there, but I think that's definitely the way forward for Tally. Yeah.
Sounds great. And you are also now at the point where you also host like real life community meetups and attending conferences as a speaker. How is that? Were you always that open and confident to speaking to lots of people, or?
Yeah, I wouldn't say I'm like a natural born speaker on stage. I'm probably more introvert. Like I would enjoy like one-on-one conversations more than taking the stage. I think there's two things. Like the public speaking part, I have done some of that in my previous jobs. I do tend to get nervous for them, but I do, you know, enjoy, you know, being invited and being able to share Tally's story. We actually haven't had our first Tally meetup yet, but we will in a couple of months. And I think that's also a first step towards growing that community, is to meet people in real life, which, you know, rarely happens for us. We work remote, everything happens online, and it will be in April in Barcelona, and we're really looking forward to that, and to just, you know, have drinks, have a chat, and meet people in real life. So yeah, that will be a first for us. We'll be having some more speaking events as well this year. And I think for me, it's great. It's a great learning experience as well. And also, you know, we're just sharing our story. We're not pretending to be like the SaaS experts. So that makes it a bit easier as well. We just share what we do and answer people's questions and hope they find our story interesting. So yeah, I'm pretty excited about seeing some people in real life this year.
Yeah, it must be a really special feeling, especially if they are like talking to you about using your product.
Yeah, definitely. We're used to it online, right? But we, you know, it's not like we meet people on the street and they're like Tally users. So that will be pretty special for us. Yeah.
And just a little bit back to parenting and like work-life balance. We already talked a bit about it, but how do you now at the point maybe that you are four, how do you find the right work-life balance, considering you're both very deeply connected to Tally?
Yeah. I don't think we have found the right balance. It's a constant struggle, if I'm honest. we cannot work as many hours as we would like. We just don't have the time or the energy, just because we're parents as well. So we're kind of stuck to a pretty strict schedule in which we work like with morning and evening shifts to take care of our daughter. She goes to daycare during the day, so then we kind of have like this window from, let's say, 8:30 to 6-ish or a bit before that, where we can work. And yeah, in the evening as well. But we also try to have some family time in the evenings and in the weekends. So that's just something we had to come to terms with, is that we will move a bit slower, just because that's how our personal situation is. But it's also important for us to be present and to spend time as a family. Yeah, we work fully remote. Everything is pretty flexible. So with the team, all communication happens on Slack. We have like once a week, like a call just to catch up and to see on Friday, but that's like a small half hour just to see if there's any issues or blocking elements. And that's it. So it's pretty lean. And, we just work whenever we can, and we feel like it. Of course, we're, working most of the time. But yeah, we just had to come to terms with like the structure and the fact that we don't have as many working hours during a day as someone without kids would have. And once you come to terms with that, it kind of works. And we just need to be consistent and be strict on our time and try to be as productive as possible. Yeah.
Absolutely. And do you think growing Tally to a point where it is right now overall improved your lifestyles?
Um, I would say so. I mean, we definitely got used to just not having a boss, being flexible and being able to work where and whenever we want. I think on the other side, you're also overly consumed with your startup, and it's definitely not the ultimate freedom. We're working probably more or thinking more about it than we would do in our previous jobs, but it doesn't feel like a job, which kind of also helps. So it's kind of a never off kind of situation. But we do have the flexibility to, when our daughter is sick, or when we, need to go somewhere, we can do that. We can decide on all those things. Philip, his family lives abroad. We have the flexibility to visit them and work from there as well. So it definitely changed our lifestyle. I think since last year, we're also paying ourselves a salary, which yeah, makes a big difference as well, because you can actually stop living from your savings. So it definitely, I mean, it has changed our lives completely. I don't think we're like have achieved like the lifestyle that we ultimately would want to. But yeah, that's what we are working towards.
And like Tally is very deeply into the no-code space also. So
Right.
just a general question, where do you think it's going, the whole development of it?
I mean, I think the no-code space will only grow, right? Like it's been booming for the past few years, especially since COVID. I think in Belgium it's still pretty small, but internationally it has been expanding very rapidly. And I think it makes sense as well, especially if you look at how scarce developers are, or how expensive they can be as well for businesses, especially now when everyone is cost cutting. Those tools just give everyone the ability to automate workflows, to build websites, to have forms, to collect leads. A marketing team doesn't need a developer to do those things. Developers can actually focus on building the more complicated software, which probably is also more fun for them to do. And let's just automate everything else with no code tools, because it works, it's affordable, it's fast, and it's definitely yeah, opening up or just giving a lot of possibilities to founders as well, people that want to start a business and want to build an MVP, or even a full-blown product. You can do all of that with a no-code tool. So I think the future is very bright for the no-code space, I think it will only start growing faster.
Yeah, I completely agree. There's like rapid growth of no-code tools and possibilities that come with it. So yeah, definitely.
Yeah, there's like so many things you can do without having coding skills, and it might also get some people to learn how to code, because it's also just a first step towards some more technical concepts. So yeah, it's a very interesting space to be active in, for sure.
And what about Tally? Do you have like any exciting plans for the product? I know you like already said you plan for 1 month, 2 months ahead, but is there anything
Yeah.
apart from real life meetups that you have scheduled?
We'd like to launch like a Tally 2.0, like a bit of a new rebranded version of our product with some new features as well, a bit of a new design. It's something we actually wanted to do last year, but we just couldn't get around to it. And I think on the feature side, we'd like to at one point open up our API, which will like give a lot of more tools to users to like also connect other tools with Tally, get data in the platform instead of just out of it. But all of that still needs to be refined and worked on. So that probably won't be on the very short term. But yeah, there's lots of plans on the development side, and yeah, we would love to grow the community and see what we can learn from other tools there. Busy schedule ahead of us.
Yeah, and it sounds super interesting and very exciting.
It is. It's definitely. We always have the feeling that we're not moving fast enough and that we need to do new stuff. But also sometimes we just need to make sure that we keep on delivering on the promise of building like the simplest way to create forms and keeping it accessible for everyone. So that also takes some time. But yeah, definitely exciting. Yeah.
Yeah, and thanks a lot for sharing all of these insights. And since we are near the end of this podcast, I'm eager to hear what's, if you have it, like one book that everyone should read before building their own product or their own startup.
So I haven't been reading a lot lately, to be honest. I find most of my info on Twitter or online. I think the Lean Startup is still like, it's an old one, but it's still definitely a book that I can recommend. Just the idea of not making complex plans, but just shipping an MVP, figuring out what people want to pay for as soon as possible and as cheap as possible, and then iterate on that. I think that's something that definitely has worked for us, and it's also an advice I would give to other people that want to go on a similar journey. So yeah, I could recommend that book for sure.
Nice. And do you have any favorite podcasts you listen to during work or when you want to take like your mind off something?
Yeah, well, obviously the Indie Hackers podcast is definitely podcast I listen the most to, just because they interview bootstrap founders, which is super interesting for us. And in the same space, I would say this Indie Life by James McKinvin. I think that's also just a really fun way to hear how bootstrappers think and work. So I would say those two. Yeah.
And is there a productivity tool that you use that made your life or work simpler?
No, we use Notion for everything. for all our documentation, internal processes. We built our help center on Notion. We use it privately as well. So yeah, that would definitely be. I would not be able to manage anything without Notion at this stage. So I can highly recommend it.
Yeah, it's super helpful and all the possibilities it opens up. Amazing.
Right.
And yeah, just the last thing, is there any advice you would give to your younger self, knowing the things you do now?
Good question. Yeah, I think I would maybe travel a bit more often when I had the chance to. Maybe be a bit more adventurous and like choosing jobs and going abroad and trying out new things before you settle in and family life kind of happens. I guess we've always had this digital nomad dream. I've also had it since I was young. And I never really managed to realize it, also because of COVID, and then we chose, to build a family. So that's something I would advise my younger self, to chase your dreams when you can, and I guess work-wise also to just try out things, have side projects, experiment with those, and see where they end up, especially when you have, the time. To do so, and just I think that would be the most important things.
Great advice. Thanks for sharing, and I really, really appreciate you taking your time for this session. It was really amazing talking to you. I wish
really
you.
happy to be here. It was nice talking to you, and I hope the listeners will find something useful in there.
Yeah, definitely. So I wish you really all the best with Tally. Your family, hopefully now it will be a lot easier with time management and all your future projects. And hope
Thank
to
you so
chat
much.
again.
Thanks a lot.